Greetings, beloved. I am Lightwerkninja, your comrade of the light. Today we look into one of the trailblazers in the fields of lightworking. What it means to carry the light no matter the darkness surrounding you. The light of the rising sun shatters all darkness instantly and cannot be defied by anything. Thomas Sankara, the African lightworker, also known as Africa's Che Guevara. Let's dive. Thomas Sankara was a Burkinabe revolutionary and politician, who served as the president of Burkina Faso from 1983 until his assassination in 1987. He is often referred to as Africa's Che Guevara for his radical ideas and commitment to anti-imperialism, social justice, and Pan-Africanism. Sankara's presidency was marked by significant reforms, including land redistribution, women's rights initiatives, and a focus on self-sufficiency. He emphasized education, healthcare, and infrastructure development, aiming to reduce reliance on foreign aid. His government also launched campaigns against corruption and environmental degradation. Sankara was a charismatic leader who inspired many with his vision for a more equitable and independent Africa. However, his tenure was cut short when he was overthrown and killed in a coup led by his former ally Blaise Compaoré. Despite his controversial and sometimes polarizing methods, Sankara remains a symbol of revolutionary change and integrity in Africa, and his legacy continues to influence movements for social justice and political reform. Sankara was a strong advocate for gender equality. He appointed women to significant government positions, outlawed practices like female genital mutilation, and promoted women's education and participation in the workforce. He initiated land redistribution, giving land to rural residents and promoting cooperative farming. This aimed to empower rural communities and increase agricultural output. He emphasized integrity in governance, launching campaigns against corruption and promoting accountability within government institutions. Sankara prioritized education and healthcare, implementing initiatives to improve literacy rates and expand access to healthcare services, particularly in rural areas. He recognized the importance of environmental sustainability and initiated reforestation projects and campaigns against desertification. Sankara advocated for African unity and cooperation, believing that a united Africa could better resist imperialism and foreign exploitation. He encouraged the revival of African culture and identity, rejecting colonial legacies and promoting pride in African heritage. Sankara's government began exploring alternative energy sources to improve electricity access and reduce dependence on imported fuels. Thomas Sankara's government initiated a railway project aimed at improving transportation and economic connectivity in Burkina Faso. The most notable was the Ouagadougou to Kaya Railway, which sought to enhance trade and accessibility between major urban centers and rural areas. The railway was intended to facilitate the movement of goods and people, thereby boosting trade, agriculture, and local markets. Sankara's administration focused on building infrastructure that could support economic self-sufficiency, reducing reliance on imported goods. The project emphasized using local labor and materials whenever possible, aligning with Sankara's philosophy of self-reliance. While the railway project faced challenges due to limited resources and political instability, it reflected Sankara's vision for a more interconnected and self-sufficient Burkina Faso. The legacy of his emphasis on infrastructure development continues to influence discussions about transport and economic policy in the country today. Thomas Sankara's revolutionary policies and ideologies often clashed with the interests of global powers and institutions, leading to a lack of support from many globalist entities. Sankara was a vocal critic of neo-colonialism and foreign aid dependency. His emphasis on self-reliance and rejecting foreign intervention was seen as a direct challenge to the influence of Western countries and international financial institutions. His sweeping reforms in land distribution, agriculture, and women's rights were viewed as too radical by some international stakeholders. These changes threatened established economic structures and interests, particularly those of foreign corporations operating in Africa. Sankara's vision of African unity and cooperation often put him at odds with Western geopolitical strategies that favored division and dependency. His call for a united Africa was perceived as a threat to Western interests in the region. He advocated for the nationalization of key industries and resources, aiming to ensure that profits benefited the local population rather than foreign investors. This approach alarmed international businesses and governments reliant on access to African resources. Sankara's alignment with other revolutionary movements and countries opposing Western influence, such as Cuba, further alienated him from globalist powers, which were wary of any ideologies that could inspire similar movements elsewhere. His focus on social justice, anti-corruption, and poverty alleviation was often at odds with neoliberal economic policies promoted by global institutions like the IMF and World Bank, which favored structural adjustment programs that prioritized austerity and privatization. Overall, Sankara's radical approach and commitment to an independent and self-sufficient Africa posed significant challenges to the prevailing global order, leading to a lack of support from globalist entities and ultimately contributing to his isolation and assassination. This has left a permanent legacy still burning in the hearts of African and even other revolutionists and lightworkers across the globe. The modern president of Burkina Faso is a prime example of how a lightworker's footsteps can leave behind a burning path for generations to follow. Protected by his Russian allies and convinced that he has been invested with a mission, Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's modern leader, is a messianic figure for his supporters and a paranoid autocrat for his detractors. To both, the self-proclaimed president remains an enigma. His mission, as he states, is to finish the work that Sankara started years prior. Being a lightworker is not about the title or being recognized. Sankara did not see himself as a lightworker or savior. He saw the dark circumstances around him and how it affects the people he cares about. He then used his mind, talents, emotions, and the love of his land and people to put in work towards a brighter reality, not just for himself, but for all around him. He sacrificed his sanity, time, tears, and even personal desires to make lightworking his lifestyle for the sake of the vision he had. And the vision was a divine vision because it lit up the hearts of everyone around him to put in work towards that vision as well. Even to this very day, years after he passed on, the fire of his vision is still ablaze. So are the affects of a true lightworker. A lightworker can be anyone, even you watching this video, and you may not even realize it yet. Be the light, carry the light to work the light. And when you do, the magic happens. And mysteriously so, a lightworker will not consider themselves a lightworker, simply because these individuals do not know that what they have inside them is the light. They just act according to what feels right under the light of natural law. They just know they follow their hearts and are prepared to defy any reality that stands in the way of their vision. They have no interest in personal gain that only benefits themselves because they are aware of a higher vision where everyone can be happy. Lightworking is not just about big accomplishments or extravagant actions. It's also about the little things, as they truly matter just as much. And all the little things, when added together, amounts to the biggest results you could have never imagined. Remember, beloved, no matter how big or small, our infinitely omnipresent Creator sees everything. So trust your heart. Noah walked through the Red Sea, and Enoch never actually passed through death to get to paradise. If you see, you see, and you have been chosen to see in the dark. So make light for your neighbor. Then together we will ascend into the heavens of higher consciousness. Remember your light, dear one. The world is changing,